South Dakota Republican Senator Mike Rounds joins me. He's a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee and the Senate Armed Services Committee. Good evening, sir. And are we in trouble? And I say that because we've got a spy balloon from China sweeping the United States. We hear these reports from the military that it seems that we're almost in an arms race with China. We know that Iran wants nuclear weapons. They're moving in that direction. We know that Russia violated the New START treaty by not allowing inspections by U.S. We've got North Korea. I don't see anything moving in sort of a peaceful direction. Do you have some thought on this?
Probably the one thing that's moving us in a peaceful direction is the creation and the deployment of the B-21 stealth bomber and the creation and the deployment of the Sentinel missiles. We've also got our deep sea submarines that we are upgrading. And so it is that deterrence which will provide for peace. If we don't stay on that course, it can be very, very expensive. But right now, China is challenging us on the air, land, and sea. Furthermore, in cyber, in artificial intelligence, and in space. In all areas, they are trying to take the upper hand. They're doing it on an offensive capability approach. We've been doing this for years in terms of providing deterrence. We have to continue on that line. We've got to upgrade. We've got to continue to upgrade our nuclear command and control. If we do, if we stay on time and on target, then we will have peace. If we don't stay on time, on target, then they will look at us and they'll wonder whether or not maybe they might be able to take the upper hand, and they will start making dictations to us about the way that they want the world to exist in the future.
All right, let me turn now to that spy balloon. China says is a weather balloon. We allowed it to sweep across the United States. It's now been several days. You're on the Senate Intel Committee. Have you gotten all your questions answered about, I realize some will be national security, but are you satisfied you have all your questions answered about that?
No. And in fact, the one major question that I think we have to have, and it's a policy question, is who made the decision that we should allow this information gathering system to enter our airspace and then to proceed across the entire continent? The right decision was made to shoot it down. It was just one continent too late. And so what we've got to do is to work our way back through, find out whether or not there was a lack of communication, if it was a matter of a policy determination, who made that policy, and where the decision was actually made. Those are questions that we have to answer yet. And we've got to be able to make sure that we fix it so that it doesn't happen again.
You know, if a house burns down, the fireman gets to the house pretty fast and puts out the fire. It seems like getting those answers, I mean, I would have expected, something so important as a spy balloon from China, and that the Senate Intel Committee would get the answers right away. And, I don't understand, I realize it's only been a few days, but that's just a few days too much for me.
We agree.
So what are you going to do about it? How are you going to get those answers? And when are you going to get them?
Look, I'm new on the committee. I've been to basically 3 of their meetings so far. But I have been on the Armed Services Committee for the entire time that I've been in the United States Senate. I can tell you that there is real consternation on the part of members of the House and the Senate, Republican and Democrat alike, that the information has not been forthcoming and that we are very frustrated by it. And we're going to do everything we can to correct it.
Can we just get this?
All right, turning now to tonight. What does he want to hear the president talk about tonight?
Well, it would be nice if he talked about why our prices are up 13.5% since he came into office. It'd be nice to find out why it is that we are now more dependent on our adversaries for oil and energy than we've ever been in the last, dozen years or so. It'd be really nice if we could find out whether or not he is really sincere in continuing to build our military resources up. But I suspect that we'll probably hear more of a political speech. We'll hear him talk about items in terms of the people that he's brought in as guests, some of whom we should absolutely respond to accordingly and respect them and the deeds that they've done. But I suspect we'll also hear a lot of propaganda about the great things that his administration's done. I'm not so sure I buy it, and I don't think the American people will buy it.
Do you expect a big showdown coming up on this debt ceiling, or will it be worked out?
Good question. I think we'll work out the issues around the debt ceiling. we're not going to let the full faith and credit of the United States government go by the wayside. But this is an excellent opportunity for us to talk about deficit spending. And part of the reason that you have to have that discussion is because there is no other place to do it. When we talk about our appropriations process, all 12 appropriation bills, when you put them all together, they call it an omnibus. But even when you talk about all separate 12 appropriation bills, you're only talking about 30% about what we actually spend. The other 70% are on autopilot. They're the items that nobody ever talks about because we don't vote on them. They're on autopilot. And if you're not voting on it, you're not managing them, and you don't make them more efficient. And then you don't get the big picture about where the deficit spending is actually at. And so if the only focus that we have is on whether or not we should spend money on defense or on non-defense discretionary, we're not talking about the other 70% of what we spend every single year that goes right on through, and it has since 1974 without having the Congress of the United States responsible for taking a vote on it. We've talked about it for years. We need to start voting on the entire amount that we're spending, not just the defense and non-defense discretionary.
Senator Mike Rounds, thank you, sir. Hope you come back. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.